Good day, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 9 Leadership Ethics and Professional Development. I am Triton JT Herrera Capat, and today we're going to talk about something that really defines great leadership, not just skills or authority, but ethics and continuous growth. As we go along, try to think about your own experiences, whether in school, work, or organizations, and how ethics plays a role in leadership. Let's start with what we're aiming to learn today. First, we'll get familiar with some ethical frameworks like utilitarianism, deontology, virtue ethics, and relativism. Don't worry, I'll break them down in a simple way. Second, we'll look at key leadership qualities like integrity, empathy, and accountability, the traits that makes people actually trust and respect a leader. And lastly, we'll talk about continuous growth because leadership isn't something you master once, it's something you keep improving over time. Introduction to Ethics and Development. So, why does ethics even matter in leadership? Well, being a leader isn't just about making decisions, it's about making the right decisions even when it's hard. Sometimes you'll be under pressure. Sometimes the easier choice might not be the ethical one. That's where your values come in. When leaders act with integrity, they build trust. And once trust is there, everything else follows: teamwork, loyalty, and even performance. At the same time, leadership also requires growth. So ethics and development really go together. You're not just becoming a better leader, but a better person overall.
Most people think that professional development is about chasing promotions. They're wrong. It's about chasing growth. Growth isn't something your job gives you. Growth is something you take responsibility for. If you only grow when your company offers training, you will get stuck exactly where you are. Think about the best leaders you have met. They are always listening, experimenting, and asking questions. They don't wait for a class, they learn from every situation. The worst leaders say, "No one trained me for this." The best leaders say, "I'll figure it out." Professional development is not a program, it's a mindset. Ask, "What did I learn today?" Apply, "Where can I use it tomorrow?" Share, "Who else can I share this with?" Here's the truth. If you're waiting for your company to develop you, you're already behind. Save this if you're serious about becoming a better leader, and don't forget to like, comment, and repost if you got value out of this video.
Now let's talk about the different ways leaders think through ethical decision. First, utilitarianism. This is about outcomes. Basically, what decision will benefit the most people. Then there's deontology, which focuses on rules and responsibilities. It's like saying, even if it's difficult, I will do it right. Virtue ethics is more personal. It's about who you are as a leader. Are you honest? Are you fair? Or are you courageous? And lastly, relativism, which reminds us that not everyone sees things the same way. Culture, background, and experiences all influence what people think is right or wrong. In real life, leaders don't just use one of these, they often combine them when making tough decisions. Importance of ethical leadership. So, what difference does ethical leadership actually make? A big one. For example, companies with strong ethics tend to have a better reputation. People trust them more. Employees are more motivated because they feel respected and treated fairly. It creates a healthier work environment where people are more willing to collaborate and speak up. Customers also notices this. These days, people prefer brands that stand for something, not just for profit. And of course, ethical organizations attract better employees and even investors. So in short, ethics isn't just the right thing to do. It's also smart for long term success. Ethical leadership principles. To make it easier to remember, we have acronym FATHER. F for fairness, or treat people equally. A for accountability, own your action or even your mistakes. T is for trust, be consistent and reliable. H for honesty, be open and transparent. E for equity, give everyone equal opportunity. And R for respect, value others even when you disagree. If you think about it, these are simple, but not always easy to practice. That's what makes them important.
What makes a leader truly ethical? Let's break it down. There are 5 ethical leadership principles. First, respect. Ethical leaders treat people as ends, not tools. They listen, they value input, and they honor everyone's dignity. Second, service. Ethical leaders put others first. They're not in it for the credit, they're in it for the cause. Third, justice. They treat people fairly. No favorites. No hidden agendas. Just equitable decisions. Fourth, honesty. Ethical leaders tell the truth, admit mistakes, and communicate transparently, even when it's uncomfortable. And fifth, community. They foster connection, shared purpose, and mutual trust. It's never me, it's always we. So what makes a leader ethical? Respect. Service. Justice. Honesty. Community. Not just words, values in action. Ethical leadership isn't just what you do, it's how you treat people while doing it. Lead with integrity, always.
Traits of ethical leaders. So, what does an ethical leader actually look like? They lead by example. They don't just talk about values, they show them. They listen not just to respond, but to really understand. They encourage open communication so people feel safe sharing ideas or concerns. When conflicts happen, and they will, they still fair and objective. They stay calm under pressure, which really matters in tough decisions. They're also flexible and open to change. And most importantly, they don't tolerate unethical behavior, even if it's inconvenient. Developing ethical leadership skills. Now, how do we actually develop these skills? It starts with taking action. When you see an issue, don't ignore it, address it early. It also takes courage. Doing the right thing isn't always easy, especially when it's unpopular. Leaders also need to be aware of risk, especially when making decisions that affect people's career. And of course, keep learning. Society changes, and what's considered ethical can evolve too. Ethical leadership examples. Let's look at a few real world examples. First, Dick's Sporting Goods. They chose to remove firearms from stores after mass shootings. That was a tough business decision, but they prioritized safety. Procter and Gamble promoted gender equality through their campaigns and leadership initiative. So that campaigns is entitled We See Equal. Next is the WD-40 created a culture where mistakes are treated as learning opportunities, not failures. And lastly, Patagonia. Patagonia is so well known for its environmental advocacy, even encouraging customers to buy less and reuse more. These companies show that ethical leadership isn't just theory, it's something that can shape real world decision and outcome.
Dude.
And as you do when you fly, you carry stuff around to read and catch up on. And I was reading some articles, and I read two things that became foundational to my leadership point of view. The first one was a comment that's attributed, I believe, to the Dalai Lama, and it says, "Our purpose in life is to make people happy. If we can't make them happy, at least don't hurt them." And I thought, yeah, that makes sense in business. If we could create a culture where people actually were happy, enjoyed what they're doing, it might be powerful. And in the same flight, I read something from Aristotle, who was born in 384 BC, who said, "Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work." And I thought, wow, these two things link. Happy people will do better work. I got back to San Diego, and this is running through my head. I thought, there's got to be something here. And I was reading an article in the local newspaper, and it talked about a master's degree in leadership that was being provided at the University of San Diego. And it was a joint program that was put together by the university and by Ken Blanchard, the 1 Minute Manager. And I went to a information session, and Ken said the problem with most MBA programs is they just get people in the head. We got to start getting people in the heart. And he went on to talk about, the power of servant leadership.
Handling ethical issues in the workplace. So, what happens when ethical issues come up? First, understand the situation. Get all sides of the story. Next, educate. Sometimes people don't even realize their actions are problematic. If needed, escalate the issue to the proper channels like HR. And most importantly, be consistent. Rules should apply to everyone equally. Self assessment and reflection. At the end of the day, ethical leadership starts with you. Take time to reflect. Are your actions aligned with your values? Ask for feedback. Sometimes others can see things we don't. Keep learning and improving and stay open to change because growth only happens when you're willing to adjust. Personal leadership philosophy and value based leadership. Every leader should have a personal philosophy. Think of it as your guide. What do you stand for? What values do you prioritize? Honesty, responsibility, or empathy? When you're clear about your values, decision making becomes easier and more consistent. Leadership coaching and mentorship. You don't have to grow alone. Coaches can help you improve specific skills and stay accountable. Mentors can share their experiences and guide you through challenges. And for organizations, this helps build a strong pipeline for future leaders. Continuing education and ethical leadership in lifelong learning. Leadership doesn't stop after training or school. It's a continuous process. By learning new things, you improve your decision making, become more inclusive, and adapt better to change. It also helps create a culture where everyone is encouraged to grow. And that brings us to the end. Thank you for listening. Just remember, ethical leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional, reflective, and consistent. It's something we practice every day, in small decision and big one. And in doing so, we don't just become better leaders. We help create better organizations and communities. Thank you and have a good day.